KU fans, Tom Keegan, Matt Tate here at CenturyLink Center in Omaha, Nebraska, and it's going to be on. KU Duke coming up on Sunday. Tom and I were courtside watching that Duke-Syracuse game just a few minutes ago, and it was interesting.
Yeah, both orange teams did their best to try to mess up this mega matchup. The game of the millennium. Let's face it, that's what it is.
Let's face it.
But it's the only 1 versus 2 seed left, and it is. I mean, it's 2 lightning rod programs. Nobody's neutral about Kansas in the country, and nobody's neutral about Duke.
A lot of people hate them both.
Yes.
How are they going to pick?
Well, I think that Duke trumps also. I think you probably will go with Kansas, so to speak.
That's probably true. Obviously, the majority of the people here will be going for Kansas. I don't know if you could really tell from today, but I'm guessing it's going to be about 70-30 pro-Kansas crowd on Sunday.
I would think so. That's probably a real good guess.
Yeah. Duke has some fans here, but they weren't nearly as loud as the KU fans, and that makes sense. It's 1,000 miles away, and KU's 3 hours down the road. So, Tom, just your first thoughts on this matchup. It's obviously Duke's zone, Duke's NBA talent, Duke's Coach K, Grayson Allen against Kansas, a Kansas team that's won 30 games, and Bill Self called them, a team he's so proud of because of all the teams they've had here. This is the one that almost no one picked him to be in this game, and so that's the kind of thing Self really loves. He gets really fired up about those things, teams that prove people wrong and that kind of stuff. So your first thoughts on how KU matches up with that Duke team?
Well, here are the reasons that I think the majority of analysts are going to pick Duke. Duke has great size. Obviously, those 2 big men, Carter and Bagley. Kansas has 1 big man. He's even bigger than those 2 guys. But I think that's one thing right off the bat.
Don't forget Bolden either. He's a big
He comes off the bench. He's really big. Yeah, he is. And he was a terrific McDonald's All-American. So they just throw McDonald's All-Americans at you. All 5 guys are projected to go in either the first or second round. There's just more pure talent. I think that's why more analysts will pick Duke. Also, they'll look at what Kansas did tonight against the Clemson zone, and that's when they went dry. When Clemson went to a zone. I was a little surprised to see Clemson come out of it.
Yeah.
But so they'll point to that because Duke does play zone, and Duke defends the 3 exceptionally well, even though they do play zone. I think there are a number of reasons that Duke will get picked, but Kansas can play with this team.
Yeah, they can. I agree with that. And they won't be I don't know that it's the worst thing in the world for KU to see a zone. I think they would be maybe a little more overmatched if they had to go man-to-man and just match up athlete against athlete in this deal. But since Duke does have to play that zone to play any kind of defense at all, that if KU can figure it out and be sharp and be locked in and move the ball crisply and get good looks and looks they want, I think KU could play even better than they would just trying to run with these guys and play head up.
Yeah, and I think they can run with them, though, or even run faster than them. And the thing is, I have more faith in Graham, even though he hasn't been shooting that well lately, than I do in Grayson Allen. I think Graham is a more stable leader than Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen's kind of mercurial, and I think a big game like this, who knows, it could go either way. Obviously, when he was a freshman, he came in off the bench and just had a phenomenal title game, so he can do it under pressure, obviously, but I just think I'd rather have Graham on my team than Grayson Allen, so that's one thing that swings in Kansas' favor now. The tough thing is when you sit there and you try to think, how is Kansas defensively going to match up against Duke? Who's going to?
They'll probably play zone.
Maybe they will play some zone. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
Not even a little bit. Very, very possible.
But I mean, do you put Udoka on Carter or do you put him on Bagley? And if you put,
it's got to be Carter.
I think it's Carter. But then who do you put on Bagley? Is it Vic? Because Vic at least is long and athletic.
Athletic, right? Or
probably
Vic.
Vic's
stronger, but that's not going to matter. I think Vic's probably the answer. I agree with that.
So then what do you do on the perimeter? Do you put Graham on Duval to keep him from penetrating, or do you put him on Allen to get under Allen's skin?
I would put him on Allen.
I would too.
And then just tell Malik, you got to show up and you got to run with Trayvon Duval.
Just play off.
Yeah.
Or even Svi, if you had Svi playing off Duval.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a possibility too. Because you still have to guard Trent, and I think you probably put Svi on Trent.
Yeah. Let's flip it around. Obviously, that's what everybody looks at from the KU perspective is how are they going to match up with Duke? It goes the other way too, though. I mean,
even though they play zone.
Yeah, right. But Udoka's a big-time force, and if KU can play against that zone the way they had some success against Syracuse and even Washington at times, there are lobs to be had in there if Vic can create out of that high post spot. Is Udoka enough to give this team a problem, do you think?
I think he is. I think he's enough to give any team a problem.
Fair. Yeah.
Because he's the strongest player in college basketball, physically the strongest, and he's incredibly athletic.
Yeah, right.
I mean, in his hands, he looks every single pass into his hands. He just doesn't drop the ball. You don't see that from a 7-footer, and you don't see a 7-footer who jumps as well as he can and is as athletic as he is.
One sneaky thought before we get out of here. Silvio De Sousa, a good game against Clemson. He fits the mold of a guy that they could use against Duke.
Definitely. Now, they don't play them together. They haven't done that. I don't know if you can do that.
Maybe you do that in this game.
Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I mean, but he's their best rebounder. Kansas' best rebounder.
Yeah, good point. So, 8th time in the Elite Eight for Bill Self. 2-5 in the previous times he's gotten Kansas there. Desperately wants to get that 3rd one.
More than 50% of his teams go to the Elite Eight. That's just unheard of.
And now it will be one of the most fun that we've ever seen. KU Duke, Sunday, 4:05 p.m. tip on CBS. We'll be there throughout the day Saturday talking to both teams and finding out how they're going to match up. We seem to know it all, but we'll ask them and bring that to you. So if you want to check and kind of, check our work, then you can do that. But thanks for checking out this KU Sports Extra, and we'll talk to you guys again real soon.